the most fascinating thing in sports, JC. You're on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements.
It drives
Home
you
court,
crazy.
home court is just—it's unbelievable,
It does.
unbelievable.
It does. It makes you crazy, doesn't it, QB? Well, let's give those Gamecock fans some credit, man. 18,000. It was like an NBA crowd in Dallas or Los Angeles. 18,000 on a Tuesday night in Columbia, South
Well,
Carolina. My God.
I bet 5 to 8 thousand were Kentucky fans.
Yeah, that's true. But QB, I gotta say, man, I don't see this your beloved Kentucky Wildcat team beating Tubby Smith and Anthony Davis, and John Wall, and those guys. They're not that good, dude. They're good.
They're good.
They're
They're
not,
good. Just JC, just because they lost one game does not mean a damn
but
thing.
they've lost more than one game. They couldn't beat that Anthony Davis team. They're not the greatest Kentucky team ever, QB.
I never said that.
You said something like that. You said
I said they're the most. I said they're the most talented team.
I don't know about that.
that John Calipari's ever had.
Oh, maybe.
And I'm not the. I'm. Hey, look. Don't yell at me. Don't yell at me. Tell Jimmy Dykes that. Tell Seth Greenberg that. Okay, they know more basketball than you and I do.
Well, maybe they do, but that doesn't mean they can pick winners, baby. I had the Gamecocks plus 5.5. Okay, let's go.
Well, it's easy to say that now.
No, I
you didn't give any of the listeners this beforehand.
Well,
you could have easily texted out on Twitter.
QB, that's because you and Franz were on TV, or Franz were on TV. Yes, or on.
You could, but look,
talking about
are you still banned from Twitter?
And their violations. You know what?
Are you still banned from Twitter?
I don't know. I don't look at man. I look.
Okay, well, it's easy. It's easy to say. Oh, I had Kentucky. Let's see. Who else did I have last night? Did I have Missouri?
Wisconsin.
Did I have Minnesota against Wisconsin?
No,
did I have?
I had stupid Badgers who.
Okay, they lost there.
Well, it was a half point. I mean, they won the game.
Still lost.
They won the game, yes, but South Carolina getting 5.5 on their home court. I thought that was easy. It didn't seem that hard.
You haven't watched South Carolina play this year because they have not played well.
What? QB, come on. Look at their record. What's their record, QB? What's their record?
They're like 12-5.
They're like 12-5. How about they're like 16-3? And in the SEC, they're 5th. They're not bad at all. They're not bad.
Now, you get excited about one game, JC. We know how you work. If you missed it, Major League Baseball picked their Hall of Famers: Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer. JC, did you know Joe Mauer? Joe Mauer was the Gatorade National Football Player of the Year when he came out of high school?
No, I didn't. He played baseball instead. Huh? Wow.
Let me give you this trivia question.
It's a good player, too.
Before yesterday, there was one SEC baseball player in the Hall of Fame.
One.
Can you believe that? There was one. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I do, but it take me a minute to think for about it. But you can go ahead and save the audience this dead time and tell us.
I'll give y'all about 5 or 6 minutes, and we'll come back to that.
All right.
But Todd Helton made a good choice playing baseball. You know, he did start over Peyton Manning.
Yes, he did. Yeah, lefty. He was a lefty, right? And he's a great player for Colorado. God, he hits the ball. And I think that was a great place for him to play because the ball flies in Colorado. I don't know if his production would have been the same in a place like, a different place. But good for Todd. I mean, I remember watching him on the sideline. I was on the sideline reporting on Florida, Tennessee, and he was their guy. I remember also Heath Schuler. He was one of their guys too. And Andy Kelly. Andy Kelly. Yeah, he was a good player.
Some other notes here.
Tennessee's the best team in the basketball, QB. They're the best team in the SEC.
Who?
The Vols.
Nah, they are today. And they could easily lose today, whoever they play. I'm just telling you, they have trouble scoring at times. Kelly Ray Finley is going to have 3 McDonald's All-Americans on her team next year. So
what
congratulations
to that. In Florida. Remember when we were really promoting her to get that job as she was the interim coach, and they just never lost, it felt like.
Yeah, but they've lost a lot since then.
They have. But, for some reason, and this is something I don't understand, the way you don't understand why home court advantage matters in basketball, I don't understand why Florida women's basketball isn't as good as some of these other programs on a consistent basis. It's Florida. I don't know why it can't be consistently a powerhouse, but they can't. They're just not. Some things don't work. Some things do.
All right. We have a lot of people guessing my trivia question.
Okay.
And some people have already gotten it. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know, JC, since you couldn't even guess a player. Do you want one guess?
No, I really don't.
So the only SEC player in the Hall of Fame before Todd Helton went in, he played for the Auburn Tigers.
You said the Florida Gators only have one Hall of Famer. Is what you said. You didn't say SEC.
I said SEC.
No,
Okay, so why are these people on TV? Why are all these people here posting the correct answer when I didn't say anything about the Florida Gators?
I thought I misheard you then. Sorry.
The Gators ain't got nobody in the Hall of Fame.
I know that. That's why I couldn't figure it out. But yeah, I mean, okay, go ahead. Who is it, QB?
He played for Auburn.
Bo Jackson.
No, that would be Frank Thomas, the big.
Oh yeah, yes, absolutely. Good.
But that stat is just fascinating to me. Think about that.
Yeah.
In the Hall of Fame,
now
there's only 2 SEC guys.
Yeah.
Todd Helton and Sean Frank Thomas.
Baseball. So. Right. Yeah. That is crazy. SEC baseball really wasn't the greatest thing in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Well, it may not.
Till LSU showed up, it was Miami.
But still think about it.
Arizona State.
That just fascinates me.
Texas.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to some of these texts on the Titan Mark text line.
Okay, get to a text there. I gotta ask you a question.
Also, I want to say Thaddeus Bullard's son, Titus O'Neil, his son is going to be a preferred walk-on. He announced that yesterday. I know you watch wrestling, JC, so I just wanted to put that in there.
I did a feature on Bullard when he was at Live Oak in boys camp. And when he graduated from high school, before he signed to play for the Florida Gators, I did a feature on him. Yeah.
Yep. Rocky in Inverness says, why don't we add more former players to the staff? Look,
I've always asked that question, QB.
Yeah, but the former players have to know how to coach football. That's a difference. People think that just because you play football that you can coach football, and that is not the case. I've been around a lot of good football players. They can't coach. They can't even tell you what the guy next to them is supposed to be doing. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. One more text here on the Titan Mark text line. Yesterday, Mel Kiper had Jaden Daniels being taken over Drake May in his latest mock draft. Shane, why would you draft first and why? Oh, who would I draft first and why? Who's got the first pick?
Bears. And that's the problem. That's a big problem. It's a big center of conversation.
I think the Bears need to take a quarterback and trade Justin Fields to somebody and get more picks.
Yeah, it's either that or don't do it. And that's the big center of conversation for Chicago. They've got the first pick, they've got the 10th pick, and they've got a lot of cap space. This is their time to really improve that roster, either for Justin Fields to get him some help or get some more ammo to fire at the draft by letting.
I think Justin Fields has got good players around him, though. I really do.
Like who?
Who's wide receiver number 2 that they traded for? From the kid from Ohio State he's number 2. He came from the Carolina Panthers. I can't think of his name.
Right. And who's their best running back?
DJ Moore. They got good running backs. All right. Anyway, I don't think Justin Fields is a top-notch quarterback. So I've said that multiple times on this show.
We both have. Yeah.
There's 3 quarterbacks that I would look at, and to me it's Jaden Daniels, Drake May, or Caleb Williams. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be Lamar Jackson-like, but more of a much better thrower of the football. So I don't know. We'll see. I haven't really looked at it, and I don't really study it. Greg says, who would trade for Justin Fields? There's a lot of teams that think they would. Yesterday also, Brian Johnson, former quarterback coach here and OC for the Eagles, got fired. I was not surprised because their offense, I told you, was
total collapse.
Yeah. It was not good.
It was a collapse, and I think they did. It was a combination of missing Shane Steichen, in my opinion, as well as defensive coordinators getting the beat on how they run their team, their offense, and especially with Jalen Hurts. If you make Jalen Hurts throw the ball consistently over and over and over again, I think you have a chance to really be effective against Philadelphia, and that's what happened. They couldn't run the ball. QB Who runs the ball?
Well, I saw a stat where
Andre Swift. Well, he wasn't very
I
effective.
saw a stat where the Eagles had offense from motions and movements was dead last in the league. You cannot just line up and run plays. You cannot.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's very, very high schoolish vanilla. And it caught up with them for sure. 1966 HBC beers available at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, Gator Games in the O-Dome, select retail outlets, crisp American lager, 1966 HBC beer. We got JC on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. Gators host Mississippi State tonight, 8:30 in the O'Connell Center. It's a must-win game.
Must win.
Let me tell you something.
Must win.
JC, do you know anybody that plays for Mississippi State?
Yes, I do.
Who?
Colu Smith's one of them.
All right. Well, let me tell you something. I'm going to give you a guy to look out for.
Okay.
His name is Josh Hubbard. He's about 5'9". Mm-hmm. He's the all-time leading scorer in the state of Mississippi out of Madison Ridgeland Academy.
And he plays for Mississippi State?
He is so good. He's a guard. Let me tell you something. I was shocked he's the all-time leading scorer. Now, he played at MRA, which is a small private school. Well, because I thought Chris Jackson or Laterrell Green or James Robinson or one of those guys would be the all-time leading scorer. And he may have broken their records, but this dude Hubbard can fill it up, bro.
Yeah, he averages over 10 points a game. They're a dangerous team. I wouldn't say they're one of the league's best, but they're definitely one of the league's most dangerous. Meaning they can sneak up on you. They did it to Tennessee at home, but then they lost to South Carolina on the road. And again, I think South Carolina is a team that you have to keep your eye on. Their record will tell you that. But QB, Mississippi State game tonight, huge game for Mississippi State too. I mean, you look at their schedule coming up. They've got some real difficult teams to play after the Florida Gators. They play Auburn, they play at Ole Miss, they play at Alabama. I mean, those are three tough ones there. And tonight, Auburn is playing at Alabama, and you seem to think that Alabama actually has a chance to win this game, which they do. But I think Auburn's going to win. You know, Auburn.
Well, let me ask you this:
deep. Auburn runs 10 players deep. They will play and wear you out with their depth. And I think.
Well, let me ask you this:
scary ass team.
Who does Vegas think is going to win the game?
Who does Vegas think is going to win the game? Vegas has Alabama win the game by 3.
Okay,
but whatever.
Because what I'm saying, it's college basketball
last night.
It's college basketball.
Yeah,
and
I know. It's conference play in the middle of the week. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you're taking a long bus ride.
Yeah, it is. They don't fly on that one. You're right. That's a long trip. That's a tough trip. And another team,
so Tony says you're about Auburn going 10 deep. Kentucky goes 12 deep, and they got waxed last night. So there, take that, JC. Home court. Yeah. Well, that's where Alabama has a chance. They're playing the game at Coleman or at the I call it Coleman Coliseum. Yeah, they're good. Alabama's good, but they're not. I don't think they're a team that can win the conference or really go deep in the tournament. I don't know. I just don't think that. I saw Alabama play Tennessee. That told me all I needed to know, dude. JC, that was one game on the road against a good team. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me when a basketball team plays great every game in and game out.
It's hard. Happen. I mean, Kansas lost this past weekend.
Kansas is not very good. So I will give you this pointer.
Mm-hmm.
They are nowhere near what Kansas has been in the past 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. They are not athletic at all.
Mm-hmm.
And they will not win the Big 12.
But then you had a big upset last night in Norman, Oklahoma. Again, SEC teams, Texas and Oklahoma, right? Not this year, but will be. Texas goes and wins by 15 on the road. So it's kind of weird. Another team to keep your eye on, QB. Another team to keep your eye on. I know everybody laughs. Nebraska can shoot the lights out if they get hot from 3-point range. And they beat up on Ohio State last night at home.
That's at home.
Yeah, that's a good team, though. I think they're a good team. I've been keeping up. I'm starting to learn up some basketball. You know, Missouri played Texas A&M last night, covered the 7.5, but Texas A&M at home, that's another one of those sneaky teams, man. They're sneaky. They're sneaky.
Well, Texas A&M was picked in the top 3 preseason for the SEC. They have not played very well.
That's not
Tony says, on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel. Speaking of home court, JC, you can go on campus tonight, walk up to the ticket window at the O'Connell Center and get in for $8.
And sit up on the roof. I can't wait. That sounds like a great idea. The last time I sat up on the roof was with a former Gator golfer by the name of Nick Gillum. And I met him sitting on the roof watching the Gators play Kentucky, and we became friends. And that was the last time I sat up on the roof at the O'Connell Center, which I still call the O'Connell Center. And
it is.
Yeah, well, Exact Tech Arena. What's that? I mean, what is that?
It's the Exact Tech Arena at the O'Connell, just like our damn football stadium has like 5 names. It's Ben Hill Griffin Stadium at Florida Field at Steve Spurrier Field or something like that.
Yes. At Billy Donovan Court.
Yeah. Got all kinds of names on there.
No, don't forget anybody, QB. You almost forgot Billy Donovan Court, for God's sake.
Yeah, I know. I left Billy off. He'd be upset.
Yeah,
all right. Tony says national champion Nick Gillum. That is.
Yes,
JC,
he was.
JC just throwing around people's famous people you hang out with.
You got the Gator golf shirt on. I mean,
I know.
Nick's one of my guys. I love it.
We got a text here on the Titan Mark text line.
If he could only putt, if Nick knows this too. If he could, I saw him qualify at U.S. Open qualifier. I was with a guy named Tommy Roddy, and I was his caddy that day, and we played. And Nick was qualifying right behind us. And all I heard were 4-letter words coming from behind us because the poor guy missed every single putter he would have made. He would have qualified for the U.S. Open, but it didn't happen. Right. Nick will tell you about it.
All right, so this is a YouTuber, Gators 1216, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Who's going to wear the number 1 jersey on both sides? We lost both guys who wore number 1. I think Trey Wilson will get number 1 offense and possibly Jordan Castell on defense unless a D lineman gets it. I'll be honest with you, Gators 1216. I think that is the dumbest thing that people talk about.
I hate it. I hate it. And I hate that
linebackers. The only number that should matter at this school that goes to a certain player for a certain reason is number 11. Because Coach Spurrier, first person to wear it out of retirement was Thaddeus Bullard because of the things that he went through to be able to come to the University of Florida and succeed. The number 1 jersey, I've never been on a team that even thought about who wears number 1. So that's my thoughts on that.
So is one.
If I'm Trey Wilson, I keep number 3 because my name is Trey. 3, I will keep wearing 3. So
yeah. But I'm not into the numbers as much as these kids seem to be these days, and that's fine. They can love that. But
Tony corrected me. It was Ben Hanks that got 11 first. You're right, Tony. Then it went to Thad Bullock.
Yeah, but you don't wear the same number on both sides of the ball. Like there's a number 3 on offense, there's a number 3.
Well, everybody does that nowadays.
I know, but do you like that, QB? I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that. And I'm also not a big fan of Patrick Queen for the Baltimore Ravens wearing number 8 as a linebacker.
Well, they changed that. You used to couldn't do that in the NFL, and it really screws up linemen and quarterbacks and stuff for your blocking assignments because you used to never have to worry about single digits or things in the teens or the 20s. Linebackers had to be wearing 50s. All D linemen had to wear D line numbers. Now it's a mess.
Yeah. So. That's what listen, it's what they want to do. I guess it's not a big deal, but I can't get used to it. I can't see that. I could never get used to that. What's his name? Played for Florida. It's on the tip of my tongue. He wore number 8. Dunlap, defensive lineman, QB, wearing a single digit number. Does that make sense to you?
No.
Carlos Dunlap, number 8. Well, okay.
Oh, speaking of, and then we got another text here about a number. It says, I saw a picture of DJ Lagway's locker in the locker room on Twitter, but they had no number next to it. I don't know what number he's going to wear. I think he wore 2 in high school. He ain't getting number 2 here because that's Montrell Johnson. Now, if I'm Montrell Johnson, I'm offering my number for dollars because that's what you do in the NFL.
Yeah, sure.
And since they're all highly paid athletes now, you can buy your number. That's what I would do.
Did you buy your number from Sonny Jurgensen in Washington?
No, he wouldn't give it to me.
Sure.
But the only time I had to negotiate was when I went to the Panthers. Our punter was number 9.
Oh, the punter.
And I was like, dude, you're a punter. Can I have number? He's like, well, I was like, I tell you what. He was learning how to play golf.
A mere punter.
Yeah, he was learning how to play golf, and so I bought him a driver, and so he gave me number 9.
Oh, you did? You bought him a driver? Yeah, because you got a lot
and then when I went to the Bengals, JC, I don't know if you know this story. When I went to the Bengals, Marvin Lewis took me with him to kind of mentor Carson Palmer, the #1 pick. Well, Carson was number 3, and he won the Heisman Trophy wearing number 3. That was his number. But Kitna was the quarterback. He had number 3. So the damn equipment guy just gave you number 9. So when I signed and walked to the locker room, he goes, "Hey, man, you want number 9? I know that's your number." And I was like, "Sure." So we go walk in there, and the merchandising people for the Bengals were like, "Oh, no, we can't do this. We've already printed up all these number 9 Carson Palmer jerseys." So I'm like, "That's fine. I'll just wear 6, the upside down 9."
Yeah. QB, I want to shout out to a loyal fan of ours on this show who emailed me out of the blue. His name is Paul, out of Pensacola, and he was the one who offered to take me on that flight, single engine flight, blah blah blah. Ex-Marine, great guy. Emailed me, loves our show, Paul Hamlin, and he is a lawyer and a former Marine. So
does he own a plane?
Yes. And
tell him he can pick us up here and fly us to Mississippi, and he can play with us. I'll be happy to fly on that single engine plane.
Okay, all right. Well, Paul's a great guy. He reached out to us from Pensacola. He's a Gator Law School graduate. He was a Marine fighter pilot. So I'm trying to think which plane did they fly in the Marines? Our friend Jay would know that. But anyway, he loves having a few beers, talking sports, and he loves our program, QB. So he sent good wishes from us from Pensacola to us from Pensacola. It's good to have you, Paul.
Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
On the Titan MR text line here, Chris from Cottondale says, "Don't worry about the players from Mississippi State. The coach, Chris Jans, is very good." I agree with that.
Oh, he's good.
Watched him closely when he coached at Chipola Junior College back in the day.
Yep. Chipola Junior College, went to New Mexico State. He's an Aggie. We all love the New Mexico State Aggies, right, QB? You know why we love the New Mexico State Aggies, right? You know why, right?
Because they beat Auburn.
Beat the living daylights out of Auburn. It was one of the greatest games, moments.
And then their coach resigned again. He resigns everywhere he goes, and now he's going to be an analyst for Vanderbilt.
Jerry Kill's going to Vanderbilt. Oh, my God.
He's going to be an analyst.
He really does like to torture himself, doesn't he? He's going to now.
No doubt about that.
Vanderbilt.
Paul says that his plane only has 2 seats. Well, Paul would have to make multiple trips.
Come on, Paul. But Paul's a pilot.
Mississippi.
But Paul is a pilot. He could fly us in a 7-seater, although you'd have to drug me to get in that thing. I mean, what are those drugs? Valium? Is that what it's called? Something like that? I mean, good God. A 2-seater. Oh, QB, that's too small. That thing would be bouncing around. God bless you, Paul. But I no way. I'll see when I'll drive.
All right, JC. We got to get to This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life.
Meet you there
at Campus USA Credit Union. All right. Speaking of the Baseball Hall of Fame, in 1962, the first African American was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Do you know who that is?
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson.
I got
42. Number 42 was his number.
He was 42. Okay. I thought
they had that one day. The one day in Major League Baseball where every player wears number 42.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if they did that in football, how confusing it would be?
You couldn't do it. Yeah, you couldn't do it. Jackie, it was a good. It had a great movie. I guess the movie was called 42, actually. Go out and check it out. You can probably pull it off on Netflix. 42 is the Jackie Robinson story. Yeah, I mean, those were some days. Brooklyn Dodgers. Yeah, they moved to L.A., broke the hearts of many. The Giants moved.
Paul says his plane goes up. He's one of those guys that goes upside down. He's probably part of Blue Angels over there in the Pensacola area.
Yeah, I love the Pensacola area. We blow through there all the time on our way to Biloxi. So I'm going to the Mississippi State Wrestling Championships because my wife's nephew is going to be wrestling at St. Andrews High School in Jackson, Mississippi, originally Mississippi, or somewhere like that. By the way, breaking news: the head coach at St. Andrews High School is no longer working at St. Andrews. He has resigned. Just in case you and I know who that is, but. He is looking for a job.
Where's he going?
He's looking for a job, QB. I said Baker Sports might be hiring.
Hey, real quick.
Call Baker Sports.
Joey asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melvin Law, will the Gators football have more talent this coming year than last? Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah. It by default, they're going to have more talent. QB, what? So I'm watching you and Franz yesterday, and I'm trying to get to
I like it when you call him Franz.
Franz. Well, Franz.
He's from France.
Franz Klammer was a great Austrian skier. Franz Klammer. But Franz was talking about certain things and violations in NCAA, and I don't really know what the NCAA can enforce these days anymore. But what was this about violations at Florida with the transfer portal or the Jaden Rashad? And I don't want you to rehash all of that nonsense.
I'm not. I'll have you. So basically, the NCAA sent a letter to the university. They sent a letter to the university way back in like June or something. It has allegations. We don't really know, but it is all about the Jaden Rashada $13 million deal, which makes no sense to me because there are no rules.
Right.
So it doesn't matter. And nobody got any money. So
violations. Okay. Anyway, not to bring that up. Well, I did bring it up, but I didn't want to stress you out with having to rehash that story. But I can't imagine anybody getting scrutinized for violating anything because the NCAA is impotent, as we know. Now they can. They're all over Michigan for the scouting probe and so forth. But as far as NIL goes, or money, or players, or transfers, or any of that, it's the wild, wild west. There is no NCAA enforcement of any of that kind of stuff. They lost. The Supreme Court made sure of that. So they have no enforcement capabilities in terms of NIL, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. All right, JC, we have a surprise guest. You're going to get out of here. We're going to talk some hoops with the great Chris Harry.
Oh, good. Well, tell Chris I said hello. Go, look,
I'll tell him that you said that Kentucky stinks.
I didn't say they stink, but they're not Tubby Smith and Anthony Davis, not even close, QB. And I don't think they're going to go as far as you do, but we'll see. We'll see. Right. I just think Tennessee's clearly the best team in the league. That's what I think.
Until they lose tonight. Who do they play tonight?
I'll have to check, but I think.
All right. That's JC joining us on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. We'll get his Peachland Dental championship picks.
Friday.
You got to give them to us before the game, not like you said after the game on South Carolina. That's JC joining us. Have a great day. We're going to take a quick timeout. We'll be back with Chris Harris from FloridaGators.com. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Hi there, this is Coach Steve Spurrier, and I want to let you know that by popular demand, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill's delicious brunch is now served in a premium buffet. You have spoken, we have listened, and we're now serving Gainesville's only elevated buffet, complete with an omelet station, ginger sage chicken sausage, shredded short rib, and of course our chicken and waffles. Plus, you can enjoy bottomless mimosas and Bloody Marys. So join us every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 3 for the best brunch in town.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structure with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. Going to head back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. And it's the main man for Florida basketball from FloridaGators.com, Chris Harry. Good morning, Chris. How you doing, bud?
Morning, Shane. How are you? I was reading my morning Washington Post, so I came across this. So,
well, I can't really see what that is. Is that me?
Well,
getting
that's okay.
clobbered?
That's okay. That's okay. It's topical in that it. The last time the Lions were in the NFC Championship game was 1991, which was
Eric Kramer.
It was an incredible fall of football for me because the Gators are on an unbelievable run to the SEC Championship, and I took my wife to her for we just got married there. She'd never been to an NFL game. We went to the first NFL game I took her to. They played the Lions on a Sunday night to start the NFL season. They beat them 45-0, and then they played them in the NFC Championship game that year and beat them 41-10. So I was just getting a little nostalgic here, thinking about how things used to be good about football in Washington, D.C. And
who was that? Doug was Doug Williams. Who was the? No, it wasn't Doug Williams. It was
Mark Rippon. Mark Rippon.
Rippon was the quarterback. Eric Kramer was the quarterback.
They had a 1,000-yard rusher, 3,000-yard receivers. They lost 2 regular season games by a combined 5 points. They killed everybody that year. They were really good offense that year.
Have they hired a coach yet?
I think they're going to hire the offensive coordinator of the Lions.
Oh, Ben Johnson. He's very
Ben
good.
Johnson. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
Mark
that's
Brunell,
why there's no news on that front, because you're not allowed to talk to him because,
Yeah, Brunell, who's the quarterback coach there, says this dude is sharp and very, very good. So
Mark Brunell's the quarterback coach?
For the Lions.
Is he really? Wow, I
Yeah.
did not know that. That's pretty.
Yeah, this is year. How many years has Dan Campbell been there?
I think this is 4th year.
I don't know if Mark was.
2020.
Mark's either been there 2 or 3 years. I can't remember, but yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Him and Dan Campbell played, I think, with the Saints together or something. So that's how.
Okay.
It works. So,
okay.
Real quick before we jump into hoops, Andy wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel, who do you want quarterbacking your beloved Skins?
You know what? If this guy if this guy's hired, what's his name again? Not Campbell.
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. Yeah. He saved Jared Goff's career. They have that second pick. If somebody wants to come up and get one of those, I don't know enough about Drake May. If he's tests off the thing, I don't want Caleb Johnson. He's
Caleb
from
Williams,
DC. I don't want him. He'll come home and be with all his buddies and all that stuff. We've tried that tried that with Dwayne Haskins, tried that with Chase Young. No. I think to maybe try to stick around with this guy, maybe bring a guy in to hold as a placeholder. Maybe that's a bad decision on my part, but they got a guy in charge of that Adam Peters guy, who is John Lynch's right-hand man from the 49ers. He's now making personnel decisions, and he'll make those decisions. But I'm actually good either way if they are true believers in Drake May, obviously. He seems like a pretty good player, though, right?
Yeah, he's very good. I like Sam Howell. I think he had a heck of a year.
Yeah, no, he had no blocking, and the defense was terrible, and he's always playing from behind. So I'm not sure he had a fair shake this year in terms of where he could be down the line.
It'll be interesting to see if Brunell goes with Ben Johnson or if he stays with Dan Campbell. Brunell was a quarterback there for the Redskins for a few years.
He was with Joe Gibbs when they went back to the playoffs. Yep.
Yep. So, all right, Chris, let's talk briefly about the big win for the Gators at Missouri. Did you take your walk when you were in Missouri? We
did. It was -2 when we took our Starbucks walk. That's right. Me, the trainer, and the operations person, we do that on every trip. It was like I want to say so it was 6 degrees colder than it was in Knoxville. So that was ridiculous. Wow. Yeah. So we had a cold week last week. But Florida played well. Obviously, they hadn't won a road game this season. And not only that, they played really, really poorly on the road to date. Now, Missouri lost again last night. They're 0-6 in the league. But they did. We've seen what it's like to try to play road games in the Southeastern Conference. It's just really, really hard. And Florida has seen that firsthand. Kentucky obviously saw it last night at South Carolina. But now the narrative switches. Can you defend your home court? Florida's not making the NCAA tournament without, winning a bunch of home games. Okay, I said when going into the league, if they went 9-9, like they have each of the last previous 8 seasons, 9-9 or better, they've done at home, they would be an NCAA tournament team because that would give them 19 wins in the regular season. And I think with their schedule, that would be good enough. But to do that, you got to defend your home court. They let one get away against Kentucky, obviously. And watching that game last night screamed how much they let a chance like that get away. But they got 2 games this week. Mississippi State is a very good team. You watch them, they'll have the Georgia game on Saturday. But first things first, Mississippi State's really interesting because they got 5 seniors playing, and their second-year coach Chris Jans, who came from New Mexico State, where he won a bunch of games there. I think he averaged 24.5 wins there in 5 years. But this is really amazing. He has 4 starters on this team in this day and age that were starters for Ben Howland. Think about that. In this transfer dynamic, he managed to talk these guys into staying and kept them in his system and worked them in the system. They went to the tournament last year. They look like a tournament team, probably will be a tournament team this year. That's a credit to him, and obviously his ability to relate to those guys and pitch something to them, a vision about what he was going to do with them, and they're playing really well. And Tula Smith may be one of the best players in the league, obviously.
Yeah, talking about Mississippi State, I put them in that category of physicality. They play with they're just physical. So you got Mississippi State, you throw Tennessee in there, you throw the way A&M plays, and I feel like South Carolina's kind of in that mix now because they pushed Kentucky around last night. And we know that we've had trouble with some physicality at times. Is that something that Todd Golden has been stressing to these guys, that we have got to play with more physicality?
Yeah, and if you go back to the story I wrote from Missouri, because Micah Handlockton spoke after the game, and he goes, all we talked about was physicality, because like you mentioned against Tennessee, they were just shoved around. I mean, Micah was benched at halftime. For the first time this season that he's been healthy. He just got shoved around. He took 1 shot and played 11 minutes and had 3 rebounds in that game. He was completely neutralized. And I can tell you, he heard about it rather loudly in the practices that ensued. And he responded, to his credit. Can you respond twice? He responded on the road, that's a double check mark. Now, can you respond at home against this guy? Tula Smith, Cam Matthews. They have a backup guy who was at West Virginia last year. His name's escaping me right now, but I think he's 6'10", 280. He's their backup forward. And you mentioned the physicality, of course, but I put stress on experience. So they're not necessarily going to be phased with coming into the O-Dome, because these guys have played well over 100 games each, some of these seniors, and are used to doing that. And to your point about physicality, they're the only team to beat Tennessee this year, and anyone who's watched Tennessee lately knows how well they're playing. And they beat them 2 weeks ago, so it's still fresh in their mind and as a reference point to how to win. Now, having said that, that game was in Starkville, so it was a road game for Tennessee. Let's see Florida defend their court this week, because you go into a week, maybe get a little string going. If you can defend home court this week, now you're back above 500 in SEC. And you're still in the mix there for some stuff probably down the line.
In our schedule, I looked at it briefly. It's like 2 games at home, 2 away, 2 at home, 2 away. Isn't that kind of unique?
Maybe not necessarily. What I found unique are these late games. I hate these late games.
I don't understand why they don't put the teams that are in the Eastern time zone, let them play the early game, and then the SEC schools that are in the Central time zone, let them play the later game.
Well, I mean, Florida's Mississippi State, or there's one in each time zone. So
no, I know that, but Alabama and Auburn tonight are the early game. Why not make them the late game?
Well, I think I think what they do is balance it. They try to give everybody a shot. So I'm saying that off the top of my head, but I see what you're saying here. It's next week. Whoa, Florida's at Kentucky, then they go to A&M, which is a really hard place to play, and then they're home against Auburn, and what will be the biggest that and Alabama will be the biggest home games left on the schedule. But that's why games like this is so imperative, because Florida and Mississippi State have near identical records. So, protect home floor if you want anything down the line at the end of the season.
Yeah. Andy's question on Facebook Live brought to you by Mental Law. Do you think Condon eventually starts?
I don't think so. I mean, next year, yeah, maybe. But no, I don't think that's the plan this year. Let's talk about his against Tennessee. When Micah was benched and halftime, they did start Alex Condon. He wasn't very good in that Tennessee game either, and it wasn't because he wasn't trying and fell prey to their physicality, but he was 1 of 9, I think, from the floor. I think had 3 turnovers. He got shoved around a little bit. Physically, I just think Micah and Alex aren't where some of these other big dudes are, like Jonas Adu and Tulu Smith. But it doesn't matter because they have to play him now. So Micah was brought here for a reason as a rim protector. He hadn't blocked a whole bunch of shots, but people know he's a 7-1 guy is in there. And as an offensive rebounder. And when you combine Tyrese Samuel, Micah and Alex Condon together, that's those 3 guys are the reasons Florida's the number 3 offensive rebounding team in the country right now. They've been really effective in that regard, and that's helped the offense with extra possessions and what have you. But I think they would love to see Micah play the kind of game he had the other day. He's not a shot hunter because he's not particularly highly skilled, but if he can chase offensive rebounds and rim run and flush some of those offensive rebounds like he did in the game the other night. I think he had 4 offensive rebounds. I think he's had a second chance bucket in, I think it's 8 straight games. That's crashing the glass. So they need a lot more of that kind of stuff.
Redwood's a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. We got Chris Harry here from FloridaGators.com. Paul says on Facebook Live, we miss too many free throws and layups. We leave a lot of points on the table. We have missed a lot of like chippies.
Yeah, you got that right. And you know who does it a lot is Riley Kugel, and he did it a lot last year. I don't know if it's concentration or it's rushing or it's whatever, but that stuff around the basket. And they did that at Tennessee. I mean, they weren't going to win the game at Tennessee anyway, but it was really pronounced at Tennessee, I think. But and some of those missed layups by Riley, like one I just remember screaming at me from the Kentucky game when Florida had a 6-point lead and he had a run out layup and just blew it. And then I think Kentucky went down and hit a 3-pointer, and you know what happened there. But yeah, you're right. I got nothing to say about it in terms of free throws. Trust me when I say they work on them. I think the number was 65.7% going into conference play, which was last in the league. In SEC play, it's 71.5, which is 9th in the league. So you can say some things are trending in the right direction. A big part of that, Alex Condon, who has a really good shot. He gets fouled a lot down there. He's doing better on his free throws since the league started. Like I said, these guys work on it every day. They do stuff to make it competitive. You can't replicate game pressure, though. You just can't. And the one guy that I worry about is we talk about Micah Handlock. Shane, he's 4 of 17 from the free throw line. That's I think 23.5%. That's getting to the point now where if he's in a game and the opponents the Gators are in the bonus already, that's getting toward the hack a Shaq kind of mentality. So you hope that situation doesn't present itself, and you also hope that he starts improving on those numbers.
Yeah. Back to Mississippi State tonight. Obviously, a lot of people probably heard of Tolu Smith, but they got this freshman, Josh Hubbard, who you let me know is the all-time leading scorer in the state of Mississippi.
4,100 points.
Who did he break Chris Jackson's record?
James
James Robinson?
It stunned me. So is that who had the record before? That's why I figured you would have heard of him.
No. I mean, I've seen him play, but I didn't. But was it Chris Jackson's record? Is what I'm asking. Do you know?
No, some guy named Stoddard. Robert Stoddard.
I thought it might be either Chris Jackson or James Hollywood Robinson, one of those guys.
I remember they called him Wood. I remember him. Yeah. He played for Alabama. Yeah, he was something else.
Murrah and Jackson. So,
but I tell you what. So this guy, some people, the Florida coaches say this guy's Earl Boykins. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't he Eastern Michigan or something like that? I believe. And he played in the NBA. But like Taga, the guy's just a bucket. And if he's at the logo and you leave him open, he's going to shoot the ball. And he's shooting a phenomenal percentage out there. I think around 38%. So he's something to behold. But he had committed to Ole Miss, and he backed out of his commitment there after Kermit got fired. He didn't want to play for Chris Beard for some reason and committed to Mississippi State. But he's somebody watching. He comes off the bench as an instant offense guy. He's their number 2 scorer. I think he's at 14.5 points a game. So he may be one of these guys that is worth the price of admission to coming out to watch.
Yeah, on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Rod says, Shane and Chris, was that Riley Kugel's dad that went viral? If so, he needs to be playing football for the Gators. Is that his dad, right, all jacked up?
That was him, yeah. And he played football in Missouri. And I guess some guys were joking with Riley about it afterwards. But man, yes, that was him. I wasn't aware of that till after the fact, but have confirmed that both that was his dad and that he has no eligibility left to play for the Gators.
Yeah, he's taking some good stuff and working out hard. There's no question about that.
Yeah,
Chris, I got a trivia question for you here. You know, I know you watch baseball. You're a big Washington Nationals fan. But you know, three players went into the Hall of Fame yesterday: Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, Joe Mauer. And I gave this trivia question to JC. He didn't know it. There was only one SEC player in the Baseball Hall of Fame before yesterday. Now there's 2. Do you know who the first player was?
Who's the first SEC baseball player?
He's the only. He was the only until yesterday.
That's an amazing stat.
Yeah, that's what I thought. From Auburn, I'm going to give you
Frank Thomas.
Frank Thomas.
So
now you got.
I would not have guessed it without the hint. So.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't it amazing that there's only now 2 players from the SEC in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
That is. Geez, I wouldn't. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have thought that. Just like I think people are surprised that when there were no. And this was when I first started covering NFL. When I did Jack Youngblood's Pro Football Hall of Fame induction, no Florida Gator had ever been inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Now there's 2.
Yeah.
Hopefully there'll be more down the line.
Yeah, hopefully so. All right, Chris, real quick, let's just talk about the league. You think right now the upper tier of the league is obviously Tennessee, Auburn, and Kentucky, even though Kentucky lost. You still got to put them up there, right?
I do. Who are your teams? You said Auburn, right? You said Auburn.
Yeah, Auburn, Tennessee, Kentucky, top part of the league.
And I'm not dismissing Alabama right now. They got their butts kicked at Tennessee, but everyone gets their butts kicked at Tennessee. I'll definitely keep them there, but Tennessee right now looks really, really good. I'm anxious to see how they perform on the road. Let's see if they go into a road and all of a sudden have like an 8-point loss or something like that, then that'll say as much about the league as it does about them. What does Tennessee's blueprint under Rick Barnes and the Rick Barnes blueprint at Texas and Clemson before that, Providence before that. He kills his teams during the season, man, and they kill teams. And then what happens in March? I mean, he's been coaching for 34 years. He's been to one Final Four, and he's a Hall of Famer. He's won 700 some games. So let's see how that holds on. Dalton Knecht is a very spectacular player, offensively speaking. Auburn looks like it may be the best team wise. I think what they do the way they play offense and play everything, the way they play both ends of the floor and run might have the best chance of traveling in the SEC. So let's let itself play itself. But I do have to say, you look at South Carolina all of a sudden, and they're kind of pushing that group right now. What are they, 16-3 right now?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, with 2 quad 1 wins. That's pretty impressive what Lamont Paris has done, and they weren't very good last year at all. He got 2 quad wins this year. Florida had 2 all last year in his first year, and I think Todd is 0. I think those guys the Gators are 0-5 right now, maybe 0-6 in quad ones. That obviously that fluctuates depending on the numbers or what have you. To get Florida, Florida needs to punch above their weight a little bit and start beating some good opponents, and Mississippi State would be a good start tonight.
Yeah. Greg says on Facebook Live, Mississippi's career scoring record was Robert Woodard's 37-year-old record.
Now, didn't he play at Mississippi State?
I think he did.
Yeah. Because I remember
And
seeing
then
him play.
my last question for you here, and if you had $1 for every time someone asked you this, you wouldn't have to work at the University of Florida. JB asks, Chris, do you predict we make the tournament or not?
I predict if the Gators go 9-9, they'll make the tournament. So that's the extent of my prediction right now. So they obviously have some work to do, and and if you make the tournament in this league, you've done a good job, I think, no doubt.
Who wins? Who are your predictions in the AFC and NFC championship?
Well, I tell you what, I will. I want the Ravens to win. I don't want another Harbaugh. Just it'd be okay that the whole. Remember the Harbaugh thing from before? I don't want to see any more Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines with the 49ers anymore. But you know what? I really would like to see Baltimore in there and see Lamar in the Super. He's been an awfully exciting player in this league, and give him a chance in the Super Bowl on that side. On the other side, there's something I was telling. I don't know who this was I was talking to yesterday. There's something nostalgic about the woeful Detroit Lions story, and people get a little misty-eyed thinking, oh, it's such a Cinderella kind of thing. We that would only leave us with the Browns, right? If Detroit was to get to the Super Bowl, we'd have to turn our attention to the Browns and all that stuff. There's something about the Lions being that kind of sad sack bunch that I kind of feel that we would miss, but there's some good storylines on that team as well, starting with Gator, Alex Anzalone, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, those guys. I'm sure Gator fans will be pulling for some good. I would imagine Detroit will go absolutely bonkers. Probably has gone bonkers to date, but if the Lions were to upset San Francisco, that'd be a wild night in the Motor City.
Yeah, cold, I did pick the Lions and the Bengals in the Super Bowl back in August.
Did you really?
I did.
I want proof.
Well, we'll have to bring it out of the archives, and the Bengals aren't there, but I did pick the Niners. I don't know. I mean the Lions. I don't know if they can beat San Fran out there. I saw this stat. This in the last 12 games that the Lions have played, all 11 of the 12 have been in domes.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. The last game they played this year.
The last 12 games that they have played, 11 of the 12 have been in domes. It's been in Houston and Dallas. Obviously, they're home games. Maybe Minnesota. But they played one game outside and they lost. I can't remember who it was, but I thought that was kind of interesting.
That is a telltale sign. I wonder if it'll be a little misty out there too. I do think the home teams will prevail this weekend. I just say Lamar Jackson deserves a chance to play in the Super Bowl. Let's see if we can have that happen.
Well, hopefully the home team prevails tonight in the O'Connell Center. Chris, good stuff as always. You can go to floridagators.com and read Chris Harry's work there every day. Appreciate your time, my man.
See you, Shane.
All right. That's Chris Harry. Join us on the Titan Lamar Highline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. Ruse-Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Again, I want to thank Chris and JC for joining us. Tomorrow's program, we'll have Brent Beard. We'll also have Mark Wise from ESPN SEC Network. He'll break down the Florida-Mississippi State game and also talk to us more about college basketball on a national scene. So have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.